Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the pregame lobby. I'm your host, Trep. That is your co-host, Mr. Williz. A little bit different. We put on the socials that we were uploading the video today instead of yesterday, just due to me having a long work day. We weren't able to get the time in to get the episode done, so that's why you're seeing it today. It works out because there's no matches this weekend. We won't have matches for a little while, so there's no predictions for us to make. But we do still have to go over the second qualifying weekend for Major One before we did hit our break. We got to go over those matches, talk about what we saw from each team and where everyone overall stands in terms of standings as we head into the holiday break. Will, over this past weekend, man, we saw probably some results we weren't expecting, and probably some we were. But overall, just give me your overall consensus of what we saw over this past weekend from a few teams that pop into your mind.
I think the immediate answer for me is Falcons will have like a great turnaround from weekend one. Falcons played twice this past weekend, and they won both of their matches. Um, Historically speaking, as you know, not just like on this season, but historically speaking as well, like it's great for the Falcons. Um, we've said it a couple times. That team on paper shouldn't play as bad as they were playing. So it looks like they've maybe started to figure some stuff out. Granted, there's a little bit of drama surrounding their wins. Celium was egregiously snaking. For those of you who may be unfamiliar what snaking is, basically you stand behind a head glitch and you go up and down, up and down, up and down really fast, and it breaks your hitbox. You can't even really see you, but on your screen you see them perfectly. So Celium is like notorious for snaking, and he's been pretty good about it for the last couple seasons. But something about that match, he was just really going for it. But yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway from me for the weekend. On top of that, everyone else kind of continued to look how I expected them to, for the most part. FaZe are looking a little bit better. Did they finally get their hardpoint win in the Koi match? I can't remember right off the top of my head.
Um,
Or was it a 2-3-5?
said FaZe.
Yeah, because they hadn't won a hardpoint. And I
Uh,
can't remember
they
if
yeah
they won one
they
versus Koi.
yeah they won map 4.
Yeah, so FaZe finally went a hard point. Um, the most nail biting match, and I'm sure we'll talk about this one a little bit more in depth, and I'm sure you'll agree, was the OpTic versus Heretics
Mm-hmm.
match. That one ended up going the distance. Was not expecting it to. Um, yeah, just sort of time has gone on. We're starting to see teams figure it out. Some teams that maybe started hot that looked like they were going to be front runners have kind of slowed down a little bit. Um, it was a pretty good weekend of COD.
Yeah, well, let's get into the weekend, man. Let's talk about these matches. You talked about Falcons finally getting on the board. A huge bounce back weekend for Falcons as we get into our first talk or our first match to talk about of the show. We had Falcons taking on Carolina. I believe both of us had Carolina in this series. We just hadn't seen anything from Riyadh to tell us otherwise. But a pretty dominant series out of Riyadh here, a 3-0. None of the maps except maybe the exposure overload were close. Celium drops a 1.55 in this series. Everyone on Carolina having a stinky. I mean, you look at this series and you kind of think to yourself, okay, if I'm Carolina, I am now 0-2 at this rate. You're starting to hit some scary territory if you're Carolina for the results you're putting out with this team. I'm not sure if this was more of just a wake up for Riyadh or if Ravens are actually this bad, but not a good showing from Carolina.
Yeah, for me, it just looks like Carolina don't look any different than how they looked in that Monster Invitational, and a lot of teams look way better than they looked in the Monster Invitational. So, like, my honest opinion on Carolina right now is just they're stagnant. I don't think they've changed any at all. Teams with slasher on them tend to figure things out pretty quickly, like in the early games. or in the early season, and so maybe that's why they looked pretty decent at that Monster Invitational. But they've just slowed down, in my opinion, man. They've still got some work to do. Um, I don't think any roster right now is necessarily in team change uh territory, though we have had a team change that happened. We'll talk about it once we summarize the matches. Um, yeah, so I'd say give it the rest of the majors, see if you can work it out. But if you're not looking any better, then maybe start thinking about something different.
I agree. This was not the series that Celium snaked in, but
No,
you know, it was a good series from Falcons, and that was the series
yeah,
you needed to see them have. Let's move into our next one, man. We had G2 Minnesota taking on Boston. I believe you chose G2 in this series. I chose Boston. Boston squeak out the game 5 3-2 win over G2. Highest KD in the lobby was Nasty at a 1.23. Lowest KD in the lobby would be a tie between Mamba and Estriel, both at 0.84. Actually, I lied. Snoopy had a 1.33 in this series. So Snoopy had the highest, with Mamba and Estriel coming in with 0.84. It's a very close series here between these two teams. First map, Hardpoint, was a 3-point victory for G2. You go up 2-0 after winning that raid, S&D 6-1. And then you kind of just let Boston get hot, man. The remaining 3 maps were all kind of just heavily in Boston's favor. It seemed like after that map 4 Hardpoint, Boston was poised to win the series. They pull out the game 5 victory. I chose Boston, so not a shocking result for me, but I will say I think G2 was a little more lackluster than I expected them to be.
yeah, I definitely expected this match. Obviously, I picked G2, so I was expecting it to go their way, but I never would have imagined a reverse sweep in that manner to come from this matchup. But I will give credit where credit's due. I think Boston are steadily improving. I think G2 might be one of those teams that look a little stagnant from the beginning of the year, in my opinion. But Boston's turning it around a little bit. I'll explain why I say a little bit here in just a minute when we get to the second matchup. But definitely not a terrible start for the season for Boston. You know what I'm saying? Getting some wins under your belt's always big.
Yeah, and their next series obviously was a pretty big talking point over the weekend, but we'll get to that when we get to it, because that one was all over the place. But the next series we had the Vancouver Surge taking on the Toronto Koi. It doesn't get any easier for Vancouver, man. It is a struggle start to the year for Vancouver. A very convincing Koi victory here. We had a close map too, but outside of that, not really close at all. Lunars and Legends both dropping 0.6s. You had Kleenex with a 1.42 in this series. Just a pretty dominant Toronto 3-0. And Vancouver's that one team we talked about with a roster change. I'll let Will kind of go into depth a little bit more about that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked to see the roster change happen, because this has been a pretty poor start for Vancouver. I'm pretty sure they're the only team that hasn't won a map yet. So yeah, not the start you want for the Surge.
Yeah, so the change that has come through is Legend has been dropped in exchange for TJ Halley from Bush Gaming. And Legend has gone on to join the Stallions, which is Zuma's challengers team. Now we haven't seen TJ play with Surge yet. This is going to be going into the rest of 2026 here. But it's not a shocking change. The biggest discussion right now around Surge from pretty much everybody is that they did Legend no favors. He wasn't ready. They threw him into a roster with a bunch of young guns, and he just didn't have the opportunity to learn in the way that he probably needed to from a vet. So I think some time down in Challengers is going to do him well, but I think picking up TJ is going to make this team better? Obviously. Do I think it's going to make them championship caliber? Probably not. I'm sure they'll get map wins. They'll probably win a series here and there, but I'm not expecting this Surge team to suddenly become top 1, 2, 3, 4 contenders. You know what I'm saying?
Well, joke's on you, Will. They're not picking up TJ.
Oh, did they change that?
They
When did
picked
that
up
change?
they picked up Cowboy Hat.
Oh,
Challengers player.
interesting.
I have no idea who he is. I have no clue. I just saw the official post from Vancouver, and yeah, it was. Let me see if I can find it here. Because I also thought it was TJ, but I remember seeing a post from Vancouver that they picked up Cowboy Hat. Let me see here. Yeah, so Cowboy Hat has been picked up to play for Vancouver. Challengers player. Like I said, I don't know anything about him. I've never seen him play, never even heard of the guy. So I don't know what to expect from him. But I guess we will see.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which I've heard TJ's back in the league. If that's the case, I don't know who he's going to.
Where's he going now?
Yeah, I don't know where he's going to. It could be a Carolina again. Wouldn't be shocked.
Possibly.
But of course, we'll have to see. We move into our next match. The Paris Gentlemates took on the LA Thieves. We talked about this had potential to be an absolute banger. It was not. It was a Paris Gentlemates smoke show. A 3-0 over the Thieves. None of the maps were close. I mean, this was just absolute masterclass. We had Ghosty dropping the KD record at a 2.14 in this series. I mean, just insanity. Kenny, absolute stinky 0.56. Scrap is the only one positive on Thieves. No one else on Thieves dropped above a 0.71 outside of Scrap at a 1.0. This is even little to talk about than the last series. I mean, this was just a masterclass. This was just proof that Gentlemates were so much more ahead of Thieves, and this was a big revenge series for Ghosty, you could tell, and it was just dominant all the way through.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Thieves. Like sometimes they look like they're a viable team, and then sometimes they just don't. I still think Thieves have like the fire in them. Like they're still probably a pretty decent team. I think this was just like you said it yourself, man. Mates were just running it this game. Dan Ghosty has a match that's gonna end up being like a career highlight. Probably. I don't think this is something we're gonna see him regularly repeat because no one would. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a fun match to watch. Just watching mates just run through them. You know what I'm saying? Like it was flashy COD. They were getting 2-piece after 3-piece after just like squad wiping.
Yeah.
But definitely scratching your head if you're a Thieves fan right now. Like, are we good or are we not?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of questions kind of right now around your roster.
Yeah, and I don't. As of right now, I don't want to say I told you so, but I knew this wasn't no God team when they picked them up. And here we are seeing the flaws. Kenny, man, that's a big question mark, man. This is 2 years in a row now where he has just been consistently underperforming compared to what we're used to seeing from Kenny. It's going to be interesting to see how his season develops. But let's move into what you said was probably the most interesting match of the weekend, and probably rightfully so. We had OpTic Texas taking on the Miami Heretics. This series goes Game 5, and OpTic squeak out the 3-2 win over Miami. Very, very close series here. The SMG duo of OpTic struggling in this series. Shotzi with a .77, Hook with a .84, but the ARs did what they needed to do. Mercules a 1.3, and then Dashy with a 1.15 carrying the weight. It's kind of the same thing on the Miami side, the SMGs, which I think Metals and Trakes are both the SMGs for Miami. I could be wrong. But they both drop .85s. Rencor leads the way with a 1.3 on Miami. But OpTic get the 3-2 win. Probably could have been 3-1. They trolled the Den Harpoon at the end. They were needing 1 point. They were up 249 to 190. And somehow Miami had some incredible breaks and holds to secure map 4. But OpTic, S&D, they pull a dirty Neslo and they win 2-3-5 to win this series. but you're starting to see a little bit of a slip up in the HPs for OpTic. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops moving forward.
Um, I I, I want to circle back. You were joking about the cowboy hat thing, right?
I don't know. That's the only announcement I've seen from Surge.
Yeah, he's not a professional player. He's not even a challengers player.
Well, who are they
I thought you
picking
were
up?
joking.
Who are they picking
It's
up?
Teach. It's Teach.
They haven't
Cowboy hat's
announced it.
like he's a streamer. He's like a goofball.
They
Streamer.
haven't announced Teach.
It's gonna be Teach. Cowboy hat. He's not an actual player.
Well, that's the only
He's like
announcement I saw. So
he's a streamer. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't look into it. I just saw the Surge announcement.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that was a troll.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, I don't see why not just announce Teach, but unless Teach isn't going to Surge. I mean, I have no idea.
He's not on Bush anymore. They picked up Fire 40.
Well, I know he's not on Bush. I know Teach is going to the league. I just don't know where.
I'm almost certain they're just trolling. Cowboy hat's a streamer.
I don't know. Like I said, that's the only announcement I saw. And like I said, I just saw it and didn't really look into it. So
where were we?
OpTic Miami.
A hard attack of a series. Like you didn't actually get to watch this one live, did you?
Was this Saturday?
Yeah.
No. I was
Dead.
Yeah. I was out of town, so no, I didn't get to watch this one.
Did you want to talk about tweaking? Like this series had me like standing up, hands on hips at a couple moments. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean, we're just like, but hey, the good news is OpTic Gaming can win a series without having to win hard points.
True.
That's a big takeaway if you're an OpTic fan. You know how important that is. So, very messy series from OpTic. I think Heretics can play. I think Heretics are actually probably going to end up being pretty decent after what we saw this past weekend.
Yeah, I'm not too shocked at this result because Miami always plays OpTic close. I would say I'm kind of shocked in the reversal of hard points and S&Ds for OpTic. It seems like S&Ds are kind of like a smooth, comfortable mode right now. It seems like HP, which you see them in their scrims, they do really good in HPs. Off the beginning of the year, they were really good in HP, and it seems like they're kind of losing that foothold. Again, OpTic's a good team, but when both your SMGs are having a little bit of a struggle series, it's kind of difficult. But it's also good to see that if both your SMGs are having a struggle series, you're still winning the S&Ds and the overload. So, even if Shotzi's dropping a 0.7, you're still winning the series, which Shotzi doesn't drop 0.7s all that often. So,
yeah, I think it's just the beginning of the year type thing.
Yeah.
Shotzi, the way Shotzi plays the game, he has to understand it so unbelievably well. You know what I'm saying? For like timings and stuff like that. So it's pretty common to see him not be the best at the beginning of the year and start picking it up at the end. So yeah, we'll see how things go.
Well, we move into what I think, is the final match on Saturday, the Vancouver Surge taking on Cloud9. And this is the series that got Legend dropped. Cloud9 win 3-0. Was not a comfortable 3-0 win for Cloud9. All the maps were close. The Legend had 39 total kills in this series. And that's just not going to cut it, man. It's just not going to cut it. And so Legend drops a 0.64 in the series. Every other teammate positive. At this point, you kind of just had to pull the plug. You kind of had to make the change. You didn't really have much of a choice. You're 0-3 at this point. You still haven't won a map. You have gone from a team last year that was in back-to-back grand finals against OpTic to now you can't win a map. And so I'm not shocked at the change. I feel bad for Legends, but he needs to spend some time in the pit.
Yeah, I think this ultimately benefits him. He's going to a roster. So like I said just a second ago, he's on Stallions, which is Zuma's Challengers team. I think Zuma is the type of person to recognize that having a world champion from another esport come over is a big deal. So I think Zuma will probably put effort into him. He's also playing with Havoc. Havoc's for some reason playing in challengers this year. Um, Having someone like Havoc alongside him will be good, a really good learning experience because at the end of the day, I don't necessarily think Havoc's trying to make it back into the league. So I think Havoc might be a little bit more willing to take like a backseat, more of like a teacher role for these young guys. Um, but yeah, man, I think there's a chance he ends up back in the league, maybe later on in the season or next season, because like the eye test, he's got it. I mean, he can beat pros and straight up gunfights. That's not the issue. He just doesn't know how to play COD. And if you go anyone, if you, anyone is interested in keeping up with challengers, this is the year to do it because there's so much. There's just so much there right now. Like Zuma's got a team. I think he has two teams. Um, Falcons has two teams. OpTic is doing a challengers team this year. They brought back the Huntsman branding from 2020 season. Um, there's a lot of talent in challengers right now that are actually getting a fair like eye on top of them instead of only seeing like one person, maybe two break out from challengers this year. There's a good chance we end up seeing quite a bit of people break out from challengers this year with how much attention it's getting. So, um, sucks for Legend, but at the same time, if there's any time to have to drop back into challengers, this season is the one that's going to be the best one
Yeah.
for it to happen. You know what I'm saying?
I think he's doing well down there as of right now too. So it'll be
Yeah, I mean,
it'll be good practice for him.
his former Halo teammate Renegade, after just a couple weeks, looks like a significantly different player. You know what I'm saying? Just having someone down there, yeah, like surrounded by people that are going to be willing to teach you, like Renegades has, right? He's had like methods really stepping up, and then just his other challengers teammates stepping up to help him.
Yeah.
I think if he changed quick, I think Legend will change quick.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with Legend. And of course, challengers. We move into Sunday. The Riyadh Falcons took on the Boston Breach. This is the series that was all over X and all the CDL people were talking about it. Falcons win the series 3-1 over Boston. But Celium was just egregiously snaking. He didn't care. It was a very scummy thing, and I imagine there are going to be repercussions for it. But at the end of the day, the result is official. Falcons win the series. Celium had a 1.4. Best KD in the lobby. Worst KD in the lobby was Purge at a 0.73. I could also see Tej going and taking Purge's spot on Boston. But
It's going to Surge, I promise you. Cowboy Hat is not an actual Call of Duty player.
But Boston win map 1. And you're kind of thinking at that point, okay, Boston's probably got this. And then you kind of have a pretty dominant search from Riyadh. You have a pretty close overload on exposure. Like, all right, it could go either way. And then Colossus is where Celium was snaking his tail off. Eventually, Riyadh win that map to the same scoreline as the first map. And pretty high engagement series. Everyone over 11K in the lobby, I believe, except for Purge, who had the 0.73. A good match outside of that one incident. I don't think the snaking, solidified the map in any way for Falcons. Obviously, it was a scummy thing to do, but, I think Falcons they won that rotation to that new hardpoint anyway. So,
yeah, Breach lost that hardpoint.
Yeah.
Like, should Cell have done it? No. And is there a possibility that he did it in other times that we didn't see, that maybe had an influence somewhere? Maybe, but snaking is terrible. But snaking isn't gonna stop you from getting beat in a 3-1 fashion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or snaking isn't gonna be the reason you're getting beat. Now, if it's like game 5, round 11, and you get snaked, sure. You know what I'm saying? But these guys kind of got ran after the first map. So, I don't think it was that big deal. Yes, but it wasn't a series winning situation.
Yeah. Like I said, I imagine there's going to be repercussions for it.
Yeah.
They don't usually let that stuff just fly. Second match on Sunday, we have Miami taking on Cloud9. Let me tell you, this Miami team can't get away from Game 5s. They've been in Game 5s every single series this year, but finally this time they're able to win one. They take down Cloud9 3-2. They just look so up and down in like every game mode. Like the one time they look great in Hardpoint, and the other they look terrible. But you had Super with a 1.15 in this series, best KD in the lobby, and then you had Vivid with a 0.86. Very, very close series between these two teams, but Miami do pull it out in the end. They get the Game 5 victory, finally get their first win on the board for this year. Pretty grueler of a series here for both teams, but I can't remember who we predicted to win this series. I think I said Miami.
Cloud9.
You had Cloud9. I think I said Miami. I can't remember who I said, but either way, a big victory for Miami, one they desperately needed after the first two losses.
Yeah, I mean, I said it just a second ago, and I still kind of stand by it. I think this Miami team honestly looks pretty decent, especially when you take into account that they only had like 2 weeks maybe of practice because of visa issues. You had Miami. I just went back and checked.
I had Miami.
Yeah, I just went and checked the Twitter. But for them to be like this under practice and still look this decent, I think, come major time, this Miami team can end up looking pretty damn good.
I agree. And that's the exciting thing is that especially over this break, teams are still going to be practicing and getting better. And so I'm interested to see, what versions of each team we see coming out of the break in January because, this break sucks, but I think it is a big thing for the teams to like give some of the lower end teams to catch up and give some of the higher end teams a chance to polish their game before you get back into official matches. And then our final match of the weekend had the potential to be a banger, and it was a banger. We had FaZe taking on Koi. I do not remember our picks. FaZe? I think we were.
FaZe, but I think you did too.
I think I chose FaZe.
Keep yapping.
Anyway, a 3-2 Game 5 victory for FaZe.
Yeah, we both had FaZe.
They win both the S&Ds. A hardpoint win finally for FaZe in map 4 on Colossus. They beat the brakes off of them. The other two maps, Overload on Exposure and Hardpoint on Exposure, were both very close. Highest KD in the lobby, Simp the Pimp, 1.19. He's been doing it so far all year. Lowest KD was Joe Deceives at a 0.89. Super fun series to watch. Good to see the FaZe boys kind of turning up for this series. They're a good way to end their little vacation split here. It was looking rough off the start, but you're 2-1, and you've got yourself in a prime spot for competing for top 4 at Major 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest focus I have for this FaZe team right now, and you kind of said it yourself, is just Simp. Simp has looked phenomenal to start this year. It's really been like a situation where he's being let down by the other 3. You know, like he's looking like Black Ops 4 Simp in some of these matches. So if he can continue that, if he keeps this all season long and the other 3 pick it up, this FaZe team could be like actually very dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Koi, I kind of find myself like this might be my underdog team so far for this season. Like I kind of like that team. I think they're better than you would expect, and I mean, fuck, I've said it. I don't even know how many times I've said it by now, but like, I owe Joe Deceives the biggest apology in the world. That man is still continuing to look great. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we'll see this Koi team make noise. I don't know if we'll see them win anything, but I think this team could like sneak out a top 4, top 3 placing pretty easily, in my opinion, especially with how they looked so far at the beginning of the year. One of these other teams above them just has an off match, off weekend, whatever. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see this Koi team kind of sneaking in.
Well, let's get to the standings to where we are right now, Will. Obviously, you guys have been seeing them on the screen the whole time. We'll pull them up right here. Obviously, number 1, OpTic Texas, 10-2 map count for OpTic Texas. Best map count in the league as of right now. 83.3% map win percentage. You're 3-0. You're in the spot you want to be if you're the reigning back-to-back champs. So, a good start for OpTic here. The Paris Gentlemates coming in at number 2 with a 9-3 map count. A great start for Paris. We kind of figured this was going to be the 1 and 2 after the invitationals and after everything we'd seen from the teams. To round out our top 4, you have Toronto and Thieves. I think both teams are 2-1. You got a 5-3 map count for Toronto, 5-5 map count for Thieves. At 5-6, you got FaZe, who are 2-1. Boston 2-1. FaZe 4-5 map count. Boston 2-3 map count. No, that can't be right.
Yeah, so you're confusing me. What do you?
Sorry. They are 2-1.
Boston are-
That's correct.
Boston are 2-1. They're 7-6
FaZe,
in map count.
Yeah, FaZe are also 2-1.
Yeah, FaZe is 6-7 in map count.
Yeah. What is Breaking Points? I'm confused on Breaking Points thing because they have MW, ML, and then GW, GL, which MW, ML can't be match wins because they haven't played 12 matches.
Yeah.
Or is that just in total?
Yeah, so it's the same way that the CDL does it. Match win is the actual match. GW is game, which is what we call maps.
Yeah, but OpTic haven't played 10 matches.
No, but they've played 10 maps.
But
No,
what
they
about
haven't. They're
GW?
9-3. OpTic are 9-3.
Yeah, but what about GW? They got OpTic at 34-14. And GW on Breaking Point. I don't know what Breaking Point's breakdown is.
Are they counting off-season shit?
I guess, maybe. Here, let me, because you go to Major 1 and then it shows 3-0, 9-3. But for season standings, maybe they're counting the off-season
like
stuff. I mean,
Monster
maybe
Invitational. Yeah,
I guess so. Which I don't know why they would, because that doesn't count towards the CDL. But
yeah,
yeah. I guess that's
they have to be counting off-season.
Yeah, I guess that's just off-season stuff. I guess it would make more sense, but yeah, okay. So yeah. 7-8, you got Riyadh and Cloud9. 2-2 for Riyadh, 1-2 for Cloud9. 7-7 map count Riyadh, 7-6 map count for Cloud9. 9-10, 11-12, Miami, G2, Carolina, Vancouver, of course. Vancouver, Carolina, both winless. Vancouver, the only team in the league without a map win. Carolina, not much further ahead of them, only one.
Yeah.
And then 7-8 map count for Miami, 6-8 map count for G2. I mean, is this kind of what we expected, Will? I feel like it is for the most part. I mean, maybe
from
as of right
my
now,
initial, I would swap probably FaZe and Koi, and then swap Boston and Koi, if that makes sense. Like I would have had FaZe at 3 or 4, and then had Koi down at 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I definitely would not have expected Boston to be top 5 in standings currently. My top 5 would have been probably OpTic, Paris, Thieves, FaZe. That's my top 4, and then my 5th place probably would have been Koi based off the initial eye tests and rosters on paper and stuff like that. But ultimately, that being said, not far off. I mean,
yeah, I feel like we were
in the top 5. So
yeah, I feel like we were pretty close to on point with our initial takes.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have Thieves and FaZe struggling a little bit more than probably either of us thought they would, but we got the top 2 locked for sure in OpTic and Paris. So we're in our little holiday break here, Will. Obviously, we got a couple more weeks of matches after we get back from the break. First majors at the end of January. But, from what you've seen right now, and what we've seen in the first 2 weeks, who's our early Major 1 winner predictor? Who's winning Major 1?
I feel like saying anyone other than OpTic or Paris is a little faded.
Give me Vancouver, man.
Yeah, right.
Imagine this bracket run
that much. I think between those two, I don't know, because like obviously OpTic hasn't lost yet, but there's moments where I see Vancouver, or not Vancouver, damn it, you got it in my head, where I see Paris play, and I think in the respawn modes, Paris might be a little bit more like powerful than OpTic sometimes. But I think OpTic looked phenomenal at S&D. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
but that's not to say I think that Paris would absolutely smoke OpTic in every single respawn that they play. But I think matches between them are pretty like back and forth right now, in my opinion. If we were to see them play right now, I think it goes pretty back and forth.
Yeah. I think OpTic are still the best overload team in the game. I think they're undefeated in the mode. I'm pretty sure. Even if their games are close, they're still undefeated in the mode. They look good in it. It's just really hard to gauge a team like Paris because, one series against FaZe, you're kind of like all over the place. You're not fully there, and then when you play Thieves, you just 3-0 smoke show. And I do think that was like a big revenge series for Ghosty, and Kenny had a really bad series, so that doesn't help. I agree. I think you're kind of faded if you choose anyone other than OpTic or Paris to win Major 1. You just never know, man. You never know. We gotta see the rest of these matches. We gotta see how the rest of the matches play out, and kind of just go from there. I believe OpTic's first match when they get back is FaZe, so
Yeah,
that'll be a fun one. But anything else?
Well, if we're gonna like looking at these two teams, like kind of comparing the rest of their road, OpTic play FaZe, they play Surge, they play Thieves, and they play Ravens. And then Paris plays C9. They play Falcons and Miami and Koi. So like maybe OpTic has a little bit of a harder sounding schedule, in my opinion, like just a little bit harder. But like I said, I think I'd be shocked if it's anyone other than those two right now.
Yeah,
Coming out on top.
I agree. I mean, looking at OpTic's schedule, I think the absolute worst you could finish is what 5-2.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute worst in my opinion. I don't think you finish 5-2. I think you finish 6-1 or 7-0. If you're OpTic, but you never know coming out of the break.
I think the only team, realistically, in my opinion, that I would say beat them is going to be FaZe or Thieves, but I doubt they lose to both of them.
Yeah, that's why I said I think your absolute worst is 5-2, but I think more than likely you're going to finish 7-0 or 6-1, more than likely.
Yeah.
So, which would probably secure you number 1 seed of the major. So, is there anything else we want to discuss before we head on out?
Nothing too pressing off the top of my head. I guess like one thing that I'll say is like if you guys got extra time, check out challengers, man. They got cups every week. And if there's any season to keep up with it, it really is this season.
Yeah, a lot going on
I've been
down there in
keeping
the
up with
pit.
it. It's been pretty fun actually to keep up with it. Like because of how many bigger name people are involved right now. Like OpTic, Zuma, Falcons. There's like a lot of eyes on it. I've been watching. Like Formal's been doing watch parties. Anytime Huntsman have been playing, all the OpTic guys have been watch partying it. Zuma's been watch partying all of the Stallion stuff. So if there's any time to do it, now's the time. If we're gonna keep Call of Duty healthy, and maybe at some point convince the CDL that we would like to see challengers involved on the bigger picture a lot more, we got to give love to the challenger scene.
Yeah.
So don't know about you guys. I'm a person who genuinely would like to see like opens and stuff like that back. But if no one gives a fuck about challengers, they're not going to pay the extra money to give challengers, open events and stuff like that. So
I just miss the long days, man. The long schedule. You go back, even Black Ops 4, CWL, you open up a past live stream of that and you just look at the Friday schedule and it's just you got 7-8 matches you got to get through, man. Live since 10 a.m. Those are the days, man. You get to watch all that and experience all that. So yeah, would be Would love to see that back, but who knows if we're heading in that direction. Anyway,
Yep.
we have a couple.
Other
We got a couple weeks until matches are back, so you're not going to see much predicting out of us. You know, we'll come back next week and probably just we'll find definitely something Call of Duty to talk about for sure. Something will happen in this next week. Obviously, you know, we have the holidays next weekend, or next week, I should say. So, you know, we'll come in, we'll talk about the holidays, you know, and you know, we won't see you guys again until after Christmas. So we hope you have a very Merry Christmas with you and your loved ones, and hope it's everything you ever wanted it to be. If you're a Christmas noob and you get COD, watch out for that man in the lobby. If you see Willis, run the other direction. You don't want to be going against him.
I probably won't be playing.
Shit, I
okay.
probably
You'll
won't be
safe.
either. Yeah, you'll be safe from him and me probably. You know, we're too old, bunch of old farts out here. But
Yeah.
we appreciate y'all as always. If you enjoyed, hit that like button. It pushes the videos out. You guys have been doing great on the videos, man. We greatly appreciate y'all's support. Will, I don't even know if you've seen, man. They've been going nuts over the episodes. So we greatly appreciate the support on the new show. We know it was something different this year, but we were excited to do it and excited to keep it coming for you guys. Hit subscribe if you want to see more, because new episodes every single Friday, taking through the whole CDL season and anything Call of Duty related that comes up that we should talk about. But I'm Trep. That's Will. We'll see you guys after Christmas. Enjoy your holiday. Will, send us out of here.